Hi, I'm Katrina Smith. I work for Lincoln County Schools at St. James Elementary, and this is me.
Beyond the numbers, scores, grades, and wins and losses, Lincoln County Schools desires to showcase real people, local families, real struggles, successes, and real stories that are part of our own untold story. This is a great place to work, learn, play, and grow, and we want our community to see the strength from our own. We are #LCS Strong to the Core. Katrina, thanks for spending some time with us this morning thinking about what it means to show strength. Miss Clancy, your principal at St. James, said a phrase about when she thinks about you is you have the faith and strength that not many people have, and that you are a role model to the St. James community.
Thank you.
Why do you think she said that about you? What about your past has brought you to that point of being recognized for those characteristics?
I've had a lot of issues with hearing over my lifetime. Since I was 7, I have been deaf in my right ear. It's been something that I've had to overcome. I've had to learn to read lips. I've had to learn to, turn my head and tell people and ask for help. Hey, I can't hear you. What'd you say? Can you repeat it? So that's, something that I've had to overcome as a child. And, through my life, I've tried different things. I've tried hearing aids. They didn't work. I eventually, this past year, got a cochlear implant. Thanks to my doctor at Duke. He was a big advocate in calling my husband's insurance and saying, listen, I have a teacher that needs a cochlear implant. She's a perfect candidate. She has every qualification. Can you please help? And so they were gracious to say yes, and I was able to get that. And it's been a whirlwind of fun. Going from not being able to hear in this ear to I hear everything. I can hear birds, I can hear pens drop, but I never could hear before. So it's been great.
Have you been able to incorporate your journey with your kids in school? Talk about that.
In 2nd grade, we have different topics in science, and so I chose to do sound again this year. So as I'm talking to the kids about the ear, I pull up the diagram and I show them the different parts of the ear, and I explain to them how the different parts work and what they do. And I start off by also telling them that I'm missing some of the bones in the ear. And of course they look at me like, oh my gosh, are you okay? It was a surgery. And I'm like, I'm fine, it happens. And then I proceed to tell them, because this year since I got the cochlear implant, I was out a few days. I told them that I was going to have surgery. And when I came back, they were like, are you okay? And I told them that I had this magnetic device put in my head. And I got crazy stares. And I explained it to the kids. It kind of looks like a tadpole with a really long tail, because the magnet and then the tail that goes through your cochlea. And so they were like, okay, well then I had to go back and get the device that goes on the outside that kind of looks like a hearing aid. And when I came back, I showed them how it works, and I took it off and showed them, okay, I can kind of hear you normally out of my left ear, not really out of my right ear. And when I put it on, I pulled my hair up and showed them where it magnetizes, and they were like, our teacher has a magnet in her head. And I was like, yes, but when it magnetizes, that's when it turns on, kind of like a switch. And that helps me hear. So then I pulled up the Medell website that makes the cochlear implant that I wear. And I showed them the video of how the tail goes through your ear and it goes through the cochlea, and how on the tail there's these little sensors. And I explained it kind of like on your car. When you back up and it starts dinging, you know not to back up anymore. Well, those sensors pick up sound. And so when sound goes in my ear, those little sensors pick it up and it turns it into words that I can understand. They're in awe.
I would be too, definitely. That's a teachable moment if I've ever seen one.
I told my doctor at Duke that when I went back to see him that I was telling my kids, and he was so excited. He's like, that's wonderful. If you could just tell everybody, maybe we'll end up with some ear doctors from Denver.
That's right. But hearing loss is definitely one thing that you've dealt with as a child.
Yes.
Talk about some of the struggles that you experienced growing up, just having that hearing loss. What are some of the barriers that you experienced?
I had to sometimes sit in the front of the room. My mom would always tell the teachers at Meet the Teacher Night, if she needs to sit in the front of the room, please do, because she can't hear out of her right ear. So sometimes I would sit at the front of the room, and if it got to the point where it didn't bother me, then I would kind of move back. But for the most part, I would sit in the front of the room. People walk up beside you, they start talking, and they think you're ignoring them. And I'm really not. It's because I couldn't hear you, but I don't just tell everybody that. I mean, usually it's a good friend or someone that I'm having a conversation, but you walk up beside someone and start talking to them and you think they're listening, and it's a couple seconds later, it's like, are you ignoring me? No, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't hear you.
Yeah.
And so that's, part of it. And the teachers were good through Lincoln County. They didn't, like shun me or make me any different. They just treated me like anybody else.
Because you grew up in Lincoln
I
County.
did.
That's right.
I went from G. Massey to Lincoln Middle to Lincoln High School.
But hearing loss by itself is definitely something that you've had to overcome. But then you also got another, I'll say, blow that you had to deal with as you and your family. So talk about what that was.
When I was a sophomore in high school, sophomore in college, I was diagnosed with MS, or some symptoms of MS. They got worse as I progressed through college. I got worse as I progressed through college. Finally, as a senior, the doctor pretty much said, I think you have MS. Literally, we just have to do a spinal tap. They did that February 10th, 2001. I was diagnosed with MS. I told my doctor I was walking across the stage to graduate because by that time I looked like someone who had a stroke. My right leg was dragging as I walked. My right arm was starting to kind of draw in. I had some blurry vision beforehand, so things were a little distorted, but I was still functioning, still making it. We didn't start medicine until after April, when we had spring break. I went in the hospital for a week and did the IV steroids because I was pretty much bad off. When my now husband, fiance then, and I would go on dates, he literally had to cut my food. It wasn't just being romantic. He literally had to cut my steak because I had no mobility, no control. And the kids were great. They understood that something was wrong, and they were compassionate. Can we do anything? Can we help you? I walked a little funny, but they walked slow for me because I couldn't walk fast. There's been times I've had to have a cane, not as many, and they understand. At first they're like, why do you have a cane? Well, I have an issue that's, prohibiting my walking, so I need to have the cane.
I was doing some research with multiple sclerosis research and movements, and there's now a movement that's hashtag This Is MS. Mm-hmm. And their slogan is, every day people do whatever it takes to move their lives forward despite MS. How has your family dealt with and adjusted to a new normal, helping you live life every day?
It was hard at first. I still lived at home when I was first diagnosed, so my mom would have to tie my shoes. Here I am, 22 years old, teacher, living at home, and I couldn't dress myself. She had to literally help tie my shoes. Some days combing your hair, getting dressed, putting your clothes on. There were days that I would go to Iron Station and I would need help putting jewelry on because I couldn't get it, because you can't feel your fingers. Mine are numb. When I go to open bottles, I really have to squeeze hard because they're just it's like silk. So it was really hard. And then when I met my husband, pretty much first date, I told him, look, I have this disease. I don't know what it means. If you don't want to go on a date, then just go ahead and leave. And he didn't. We're almost 18 years later. We're still married, 2 kids. So yeah, it's been different. Like I told you earlier, I couldn't put the backs on my earrings because I can't feel my fingers. There's days that I can't, put my necklace on, things like that. It takes me a little longer to get dressed some days because I'm trying to tie shoes, and it's like I keep retying but then I have great days when I can just get up and go.
What does it mean to all the people that have helped support you through both the hearing loss and the MS, daily struggles with that? What do you want to say to those people watching this video?
Thank you. It's been awesome. From being diagnosed with MS and needing help raising money for the walkathons, $1,500 is a lot of money to raise. It's been awesome just helping me put my jewelry on, praying for me, because I am a big prayer advocate. So praying for me has been wonderful. Just, hey, how you doing? Just a phone call, a text, can I help you? Just those little things has been wonderful.
The Greatest Showman is a movie that has a song that that has kind of inspired this segment, and it's This Is Me. So I want to read you a phrase from the song, and it says, I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be, this is me. If you could go back to before 7 years old, would you want to change any of this?
Probably not.
This is you.
It is, because this is what's made me, it's what helps me. Pardon me.
You're good.
I used to complain, why did God give me this disease? And my husband finally said, He gave it to you for a reason. So that you can share your faith. Pardon me.
You're fine.
So you can share your faith and your struggle with other people, to get them to understand how much God loves you and how much He will be there for you. And He is. I've been from where I can't pick up a pencil, and I've had to literally learn to write left-handed. The week I was in the hospital, I spent writing left-handed because I couldn't use my right hand. So it's just part of life, and I've realized over the years that this is what God gave me, and I'm going to use it for Him.
Well, I want to end with this, and I'm going to go back to the very beginning quote that Miss Clancy said about you. Faith and strength are definitely two words that come to mind when they think of Katrina Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Sorry about the tears.
You're good.
Thank you for letting me share a small part of my story. I am proud to be part of #LCS Strong to the Core.